the other day I came across a very interesting phrase, so I had to go check it out. It's called anorexia of aging. And this is how they define it: the loss of appetite and or decreased food intake in late life. Right? Which makes so much of sense, because the first thing that people tell my mother, those who've not seen her in a while, is, God, how much weight you've lost. No, you've shrunk. You're half of what you used to be. Right? Over the years, progressively, my mother's appetite has dropped. And it has dropped for a variety of reasons, right? It's dropped because, in her case, stress is a big trigger, which triggers her IBS. And then, of course, changes in medication and so on, all of which are triggers. And that really got me to think about and to closely examine the elders in my life, to really look at what is it that has caused a decline in appetite for each of them. And for each of them, the reasons are different, right? For my dad, when he was alive, it was his cancer, which was contributing to extremely diminished appetite. On the other hand, if you look at an uncle of mine who is suffering from dementia, he swings the extremes. Either he experiences no appetite, or there have been times when he's forgotten that he's just eaten, and so will demand for a meal again, saying, no, I did not eat breakfast. I want to eat again. So erratic food patterns are also something that could get triggered by an illness or an ailment, or just a physiological condition that the elder is having. Other big reasons for weight loss is, of course, a big one is just loss of muscle tone. And the bones becoming more brittle. There could be change in medication that is also resulting in dwindling of appetite. In many cases, it's just loneliness. It's depression. They just don't want to eat. They don't feel like eating. They're not energized enough to eat. In many cases, for elders, swallowing is a problem, because throat muscles do get weak, and so swallowing is an issue. And I think finally, of course, one shouldn't forget about another physiological reality that happens is the taste buds also get weaker with age. And so there are tastes that you begin to the more nuanced taste you're able to appreciate less. Essentially, what all of this is contributing to is diminished appetite as one gets older, which in turn has its own sort of repercussions on overall physiology, overall feeling of strength, of wellness, ability to for the body to therefore deal with the toxicity of any medication that they are on, all of which gets hampered if there isn't enough nutrition in the body. Right? So what's the solution? What's the what can elders do, or what can we as caring, concerned family members of elders do to help this around? So first is a reality of what's good for them to eat, right? And here it's about what they eat. It's also about the textures of what they eat. It's about the colors. So, for example, just like we are with our children when they're babies, right? We're very, very concerned about the right balance of vegetables, of fruit, of protein, of carbohydrate, of liquids. That's exactly the same set of concerns that we should have for our elders as well. Just like for our babies, texture is important. We know that softer foods work. It just makes swallowing easier. And hey, guess what? Softer foods work for our elders too. It makes swallowing easier for them because, like I mentioned earlier, not only may they have swallowing issues, some of them may even have oral dental weakness, which may make chewing more difficult. Yeah? We will, when we are setting up our infant child's plate, we're very careful about the colors. You want to ensure there's a nice mix of bright colors there, which makes the food more attractive. The truth also is that a mix of bright colors means that there's varied food on the plate. There's a lot of freshness in the food that they're consuming, and those exact same principles work for our elders too. I really think that's the easy part of it. The bigger parts for me are really about how do you really support elders who are home alone? For example, I don't feel like eating alone, right? Because fundamentally, eating is a social activity. That's really how we've been conditioned, how we've been programmed. So how do you deal with some of that? You have an elderly parent living alone in Bangalore, you're elsewhere. Meal times can be a drag, right? One idea that I thought was so cool, and one of my friends does this, is she lives in the US and her mother lives in Cochin, and every evening, her mother's time evening, she will call, and actually her mother will eat dinner while she's on the phone with her. They're on a video call and they're just catching up on each other's day and so on, but her mom has company while she's eating her dinner, which I just think is such a lovely way to get her that engagement, get her that company, especially evening times. Elders find evening times very difficult to deal with, to sort of ensure that she has company when she's doing dinner. And for any reason on a day that she can't do it, she ensures that either her sibling or one of her children is actually eating dinner with her mother. And that's a lovely idea. One needs to figure out if it makes sense for you and how you can adapt it for yourself, right? The other thing is, for example, to suggest to them one-pot meals if they're cooking for themselves. Like if it's like my mother, she's cooking for herself, she's cooking for all of us still. She loves doing it. But sometimes cooking can become a drag. So how do you encourage them? For example, my mom does some cool things. She gets her maid to sort of puree a whole bunch of chilies into a rough paste. So my mom has chili paste, she has ginger paste, she has garlic paste, she has a whole bunch of chopped up onions. She may get vegetables cut ahead and stored away in Ziploc bags. It just makes using easier. One-pot meals are a great alternative. Khichdi, which is sort of the ubiquitous Indian go-to meal, is great because you can put rice, you can put the dal, you can, if you do meats, you can put some lean meat into it, you can put vegetables. So it can be this wholesome one-pot meal that's also not a big strain to cook. So I think these are all sort of alternatives that one can definitely suggest to one's elders to see if it's going to help intake. The other thing that all nutritionists for elders strongly recommend is multiple meals, small portions, which give you high energy, right? Because at a time, they're not able to consume a lot. So more meals in the day. It's a great idea. The one thing that is extremely important from a balanced nutrition perspective actually is hydration and fluids, which is another thing that elders don't consume enough of. So how do you make their fluids interesting? And there's so much of really nice go-to off-the-shelf products that are available now, which are easy to consume and are also not bad for you. You know, they're healthy. They have natural, organic material in them. So I'd encourage you to do the homework and do some of those for your parents and see if they like the taste, see if it's working for them. The one thing that I do want to call out is while it is very important that elders have a balanced meal, supplements do become very useful because sometimes you just need a shot of, for example, if you need a shot of protein, right? Let's say your elder has to up their protein consumption by 25 grams. It's going to take 4 or 5 eggs to get there. which they don't have the appetite for. But on the other hand, you could get one of those protein shakes, either whey protein or plant-based protein, which in just one drink mixed with 200 ml of water or milk or some liquid will give them the 25 grams of protein that they need. So supplements are a great thing. Research them and try them out in small doses. Don't get over enthusiastic like I do sometimes and buy these big bottles, which intimidate them. And if it's not working for them, then they feel really bad that they've not been able to use the whole thing. But this calls out a very important, and while it's not pure nutrition aligned, it's an important story that I do want to share with you because it horrified me. Most of our parents take supplements, typically multivitamin, right, which is good for them. But because our medical practice in India is typically more speciality driven and not necessarily integrative for the elder, so they'll go to see their cardiac doctor, they'll go to see their endocrinologist, they will go to see their ortho doctor, right? Each of these doctors is potentially prescribing supplements. So I was talking to a professional acquaintance who's a family medicine doctor, and he said that one of his elderly patients wound up in the emergency from vitamin toxicity because that person was consuming multiple multivitamins which had been prescribed independently by his varied doctors. For example, vitamin D causes toxicity, which can lead to hypercalcemia, which can lead to kidney failure. So this is a real problem. And on quite a separate note, I would invite you to go to a more holistic medicine doctor or a general practitioner who will be able to review all the medication that your parent is taking to ensure that there aren't any harmful or non-complementary actions going on over there, or any overdoing like the vitamin toxicity that I heard about, which was just so horrifying. So I think in a nutshell, what I'd like to really close by saying is nutrition is critical. We all know that. We guard it maniacally for our children, watch them like hawks. We would love to do it for our elders, but their appetites typically don't allow for it. So how do you help them get the nutrition and the hydration that they need to stay healthy, to live life fully? And don't forget the visual of a swan. I talked about it in an earlier conversation with you. Swan floating on the water is really the key things that you need to worry about and focus on with your elder. The S, which stands for sleep. Are they getting enough sleep? The W for water. Are they hydrated enough? The A for activity, because not only is the mobility good for their joints, it also does things like trigger appetite and makes getting food in easier. And finally, of course, the N for nutrition. Thanks so much and stay safe.